I need to tell you something that has been keeping me up at night. For the last week, I have been visiting grocery stores across 3 different states, and what I am seeing is making my stomach turn. There are 9 specific foods vanishing from shelves right now, and most preppers have absolutely no idea it is happening. But the smart ones, the quiet ones, they are filling their carts while acting like they are just doing normal shopping. Number 3 on this list disappeared from 4 stores I visited yesterday. Completely gone. And when I asked the manager when they would restock, he just looked at me and said he did not know. Number 6 is something your grandmother probably had in her pantry her entire life, but big food companies have been quietly discontinuing it because it lasts too long and they cannot make money on repeat sales. And when I show you number 8, you are going to run to your pantry right now to check if you have any left, because the price has tripled in 6 months, and suppliers are telling retailers they cannot guarantee inventory anymore. Before we get into this, if you appreciate someone giving you the real information that nobody else is talking about, hit that subscribe button right now. This stuff is happening fast, and I am tracking it in real time. Let's get into what is actually disappearing and why preppers who know what they are doing are stocking up quietly. Food number 1 is canned butter. Okay, let me start with something that blew my mind 2 weeks ago. I was at a rural farm supply store, the kind of place that still has creaky wooden floors and sells everything from chicken feet to cast iron pans. I walked past the canning section, and there was this older woman, probably in her 70s, loading an entire shopping cart with canned butter. Not spray butter, not butter flavored anything, actual real butter sealed in cans. I watched her take 18 cans off the shelf, every single one they had. So I walked over, politely asked her about it, and what she told me changed everything. She said her family survived the Depression with canned butter. Her grandmother taught her that when things get bad, butter is the first thing to disappear and the last thing to come back. And she was right. I started researching, and here is what I found. There are only 3 major brands producing real canned butter in the United States right now. 3, and 2 of them have had production issues in the last 8 months. One had a facility fire, another is dealing with supply chain disruptions on the tin cans themselves. So even though demand is skyrocketing, production is actually going down. Here is why this matters more than you think. Canned butter has a shelf life of 5 years or more. Some brands claim 10 years when stored properly. Compare that to regular butter in your fridge that lasts maybe a month, or frozen butter that gets freezer burn after 6 months. But it is not just about storage time. It is about what happens during a real crisis. In 2020, remember how fast butter disappeared? It was gone in days. And even when it came back, there were purchase limits, 1 or 2 pounds per customer. But canned butter, most people did not even know it existed. It sat on shelves while everything else was cleaned out. I personally started stocking it 8 months ago. I have got 24 cans in my deep storage right now. Each can contains 12 ounces, which is about 3 regular sticks of butter. That is 72 sticks of butter that will last a decade. I paid about $8 per can back then. I checked online yesterday, and the same cans are now $14, and half the suppliers are showing out of stock with no restock date. Do you see what is happening? The smart preppers already know. They are buying it now while it is still available, even at inflated prices, because they understand that 6 months from now, it might not be available at any price. Here is a storage tip that took me way too long to figure out. Do not store canned butter in a hot garage or shed. The butter inside is real dairy fat, and even though it is sealed, extreme heat cycles will degrade the quality faster. I keep mine in my basement where the temperature stays between 60 and 70 degrees year-round. Canned butter is not just about having butter. It is about having a psychological comfort food when everything else feels wrong. Fresh bread with real butter during a crisis is the kind of thing that keeps your family's morale up when they need it most. Food number 2 is evaporated milk in pull-tab cans. Number 2 is something hiding in plain sight, and I only noticed it because I have been tracking inventory patterns at 6 different grocery stores for 3 months. Evaporated milk in those pull-tab cans. Not condensed milk, not regular milk. Evaporated milk specifically in the pull-tab cans. Here's what I noticed first. 3 months ago, every store had full shelves. 2 months ago, I started seeing gaps. Last month, multiple stores had completely empty sections with those little paper tags that say, temporarily out of stock. Yesterday, I found exactly 4 cans at one store. I bought all 4. Let me tell you why this matters and why pull-tab cans specifically are disappearing faster than regular cans. Pull-tab cans do not require a can opener. In a bug-out situation or power outage, where you might have misplaced or forgotten your can opener, pull-tab cans are the difference between eating and going hungry. Sounds dramatic, but I have been in situations where small details like that become massive problems. But here is the bigger issue. Dairy production is getting hammered right now. I spoke with a distribution manager last week who has been in the industry for 30 years. He told me off the record that multiple dairy processing facilities are operating at reduced capacity due to labor shortages and maintenance issues. They are prioritizing fresh milk and cheese because that is where the money is. Shelf-stable products like evaporated milk are lower priority, which means when production gets tight, those are the first products to see shortages, and it is already happening. Evaporated milk is a prepper's dream for several reasons. First, it is real milk that lasts 1 to 2 years on the shelf. Second, it is concentrated, so it takes up way less storage space than regular milk. Third, you can reconstitute it with water to make regular milk, or use it straight for cooking and baking. I tested this last month. I bought 6 cans of evaporated milk and used them exclusively instead of regular milk for 2 weeks. Made coffee, cereal, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, everything. My family could not tell the difference. Actually, the mashed potatoes were creamier and better. Here is the nutrition side that most people miss. Evaporated milk is actually more nutrient dense than regular milk because the water is removed, but the protein, calcium, and vitamins stay. 1 cup of evaporated milk has about 16 grams of protein. That is serious nutrition in a crisis. Now let me tell you the concerning part. I called 4 major retailers' corporate offices, pretending I was doing a school project about supply chains. 3 of them confirmed they are having ongoing issues keeping evaporated milk in stock, and 2 said they expect the situation to get worse before it gets better. Translation: if you do not have this in your stockpile right now, you need to get it immediately. I currently have 48 cans stored. I am rotating them by date, using the oldest first and replacing them when I shop. This is called perpetual inventory, and it is how you build a stockpile without buying crazy amounts all at once. But honestly, if I saw a pallet of evaporated milk on sale right now, I would buy the entire thing. That is how confident I am that this is going to be hard to find very soon. Food number 3 is canned tomato products, specifically tomato paste. Food number 3 is something I did not believe until I saw it with my own eyes. Canned tomato paste. Specifically, the small 6-ounce cans. I know what you are thinking. Tomato paste? Really, that is the big secret. Stay with me, because what is happening with tomato paste is a warning sign for the entire canned vegetable category. 2 weeks ago, I was at a major grocery chain doing my normal shopping. I needed tomato paste for a recipe. The shelf was completely empty, not low stock, empty. There was a handwritten sign that said limited availability, check back next week. I thought it was weird, but did not think much about it. Then I went to 2 other stores that same day. Same thing, no tomato paste. The next week, I checked again, still empty. So I started asking questions. I found a stock clerk who has worked at the same store for 12 years. He told me something that made my blood run cold. He said tomato paste has been on back order from their main supplier for 6 weeks. They get partial shipments that sell out within hours, and corporate is telling them not to expect normal inventory levels until next year. Next year, let me tell you why this is happening and why it is a massive red flag. California produces about 95% of the processing tomatoes in the United States, almost all of them. And California has been dealing with water restrictions, labor shortages, and rising production costs. Multiple tomato processing plants have reduced output or closed entirely in the last 2 years. On top of that, there is a global shortage of the steel and aluminum used for cans. The price of tin-plated steel is up 40% compared to 2 years ago. So even if tomatoes are available, getting them into cans is more expensive and difficult. Food companies are prioritizing their most profitable products. Tomato paste in small cans is low margin, so it is getting cut back. But here is why preppers need to care. Tomato paste is one of the most versatile prep foods you can store. You can reconstitute it into tomato sauce, tomato soup, or even ketchup. It is packed with lycopene and vitamins. It lasts 2 to 3 years on the shelf, sometimes longer if stored properly, and it makes bland survival food actually taste like real food. I did an experiment last year. I lived off my stockpile for 3 weeks to see what worked and what did not. Rice, beans, canned vegetables, the standard stuff. By week 2, everything tasted the same. Then I started adding tomato paste to everything. Rice with tomato paste and spices became Spanish rice. Beans with tomato paste became chili. Canned vegetables with tomato paste became soup. It completely changed the experience. Here is what I am doing right now. Every time I go to a store, I check the tomato paste section. If I find any, I buy the maximum I can carry without looking like a crazy person. Usually 12 to 24 cans. I'm up to about 70 cans now, and I am aiming for 200. At current usage rates, that is a 2-year supply for my family. And I am telling you, if you wait, you are going to walk into stores 6 months from now and there will be none. The preppers who are paying attention are already clearing shelves quietly. Food number 4 is yeast packets. Food number 4 is something that has been disappearing slowly for over a year, but it just hit critical mass in the last 2 months. Yeast packets, the little 3-packs you use for baking bread. I am not talking about nutritional yeast from earlier. I am talking about active dry yeast or instant yeast that makes dough rise. This one hits different because it affects something psychological. The ability to make bread, bread is comfort. It is home. It is normal. When you can still make fresh bread, things do not feel as bad. Take away that ability and people spiral. Here is what is happening. Yeast production is concentrated in just a few facilities in North America. When demand spiked in 2020, production ramped up, but then it scaled back down when demand normalized. Except demand did not really normalize. More people are baking at home now than before 2020. It became a habit, so baseline demand is higher, but production capacity went back to pre-2020 levels. The result is chronic shortages. I have been tracking this at 8 different stores since January. Every single store has had at least 2 periods where yeast was completely unavailable for a week or more. And it is getting worse. Last month, 4 out of 8 stores were out of stock simultaneously. When I asked managers, they all said the same thing. They cannot get it from their distributors. I talked to a woman who works in procurement for a regional grocery chain. She told me yeast is on their red list, which means it is a product they are actively concerned about being able to stock. She said suppliers are telling them to expect intermittent shortages for the foreseeable future. Here is why this is critical for preppers. Yeast is incredibly hard to stockpile long term. The little packets last maybe 6 months in the pantry. In the fridge, maybe a year. In the freezer, you can push it to 2 years. But even then, the viability starts dropping. You open a packet and it just does not work as well. But there is a solution that almost nobody knows about. Vacuum-sealed yeast bricks. Some brands sell 1-pound vacuum-sealed blocks of yeast. When kept frozen, they last 5 years or more. When you are ready to use it, you break off a chunk, let it come to room temperature, and it works perfectly. I bought 4 1-pound bricks last year. They cost about $6 each. That is the equivalent of over 60 of those little 3-packs. I keep them in my deep freezer, and every 3 months I test a small amount to make sure viability is still good. It has been perfect every time. Here is the real nightmare scenario. Imagine a prolonged crisis where supply chains are disrupted. Flour might still be available because it lasts a long time and there is lots of storage capacity. But yeast, if production stops even for a few weeks, it is gone. And without yeast, all that flour is way less useful. Sure, you can make flatbreads and tortillas, but real bread requires yeast. I have also started learning how to maintain a sourdough starter as a backup. A sourdough starter is wild yeast that you feed and keep alive indefinitely. It is like having an infinite supply of yeast as long as you have flour and water. It takes more time and attention than commercial yeast, but in a long-term survival situation, it is invaluable. If you do not have at least 6 months of yeast in your freezer right now, that needs to be your priority this week. And if you see those vacuum-sealed bricks, buy as many as you can afford. I promise you're going to be glad you did. Food number 5 is shelf-stable bacon. Number 5 is going to sound too good to be true, but I am telling you it is real and it is disappearing fast. Shelf-stable bacon. Fully cooked bacon in vacuum-sealed pouches or cans that last 1 to 2 years without refrigeration. I discovered this about 18 months ago at a camping supply store. I saw a pouch of pre-cooked bacon on the shelf, grabbed it out of curiosity, and read the label. Fully cooked, no refrigeration needed, good for 18 months. I bought 1 pouch to try. Took it home, opened it, heated it up in a pan for 30 seconds, and I am not exaggerating. It tasted like real bacon. Not amazing bacon, but real, legitimate bacon. I went back and bought 20 pouches. I have been tracking availability online, and over the last 4 months, I have watched multiple suppliers go from in stock to back-ordered to discontinued. Last week, one major brand showed discontinued on 3 retail sites. I called them directly. They said they are experiencing production difficulties and cannot commit to when it will be available again. Protein is hard in a crisis. Canned meats work, but most taste pretty bad. Shelf-stable bacon solves multiple problems. It is real meat protein, it is bacon, which means flavor and fat that makes other foods taste better. It does not need refrigeration, and it is a massive morale booster. Imagine 2 weeks into eating rice, beans, and canned vegetables. You are tired, stressed. Everything tastes bland. Then you cook up some bacon. Suddenly, the whole house smells amazing. You crumble it over your rice and beans, and it is like a real meal again. That psychological boost is worth more than the nutrition. Last winter, during a power outage, we were eating cold canned food for 3 days. When power came back, I cooked some shelf-stable bacon. My kids almost cried, they were so happy. I have 30 pouches stored. Each pouch contains about 12 slices. 3 months ago, I could order them online anytime. Last month, I had to check 4 different sites before I found any. This week, I found exactly 1 site that had them available, and I bought 10 more immediately. Within a year, this might not be available at all. Food number 6 is bouillon cubes in bulk, not the little boxes with 12 cubes. I mean big commercial-sized containers with 200 or more cubes. The small boxes are still everywhere, but the bulk containers are getting hard to find. I used to see them at warehouse clubs all the time. Now, half the time, they are out of stock. Bouillon cubes are one of the best value propositions in food prepping. 1 cube makes 1 cup of broth for about 5 cents. Compare that to canned broth at $2 per can. Bouillon transforms your entire stockpile. Plain rice becomes savory rice. Beans become flavorful. Canned vegetables become soup. I tested this last year. I cooked rice 3 ways, plain with water, with salt and butter, cooked in bouillon. I had my family blind taste all 3. The bouillon rice won by a landslide. My kids said they could eat bouillon rice every day. Bouillon cubes take up almost no space. A container with 200 cubes fits in a shoebox. That is 200 cups of broth in a shoebox. Compare that to storing 200 cans. I currently have 800 cubes, 400 chicken, 400 beef. Cost me about $60 total. That is 800 servings for $60. Storage is simple. Keep them in the original container or transfer to mason jars with tight lids. Store in a cool, dry place. They will last years. Bouillon cubes are basically salt, MSG, and concentrated meat extract. In a survival situation, that salt and MSG are not the enemy. Your body needs sodium, especially if you are doing physical labor. MSG is just concentrated umami flavor. It makes food taste good. If you do not have at least 200 bouillon cubes in your stockpile, you are making a mistake. Food number 7 is canned sardines and mackerel. I resisted this for a long time because I thought it was gross. Not tuna. Everyone knows about tuna. I am talking about the oily little fish most Americans think are disgusting. Sardines and mackerel are omega-3 powerhouses. One can has more omega-3 fatty acids than a fish oil supplement. In a crisis where you are not getting fresh fish, those omega-3s are critical for brain function, heart health, and reducing inflammation. I was listening to a podcast with a guy who sailed across the Atlantic alone. He said sardines and crackers were his main food because they are nutrient dense, require no prep, and need no refrigeration. He felt mentally sharp the entire trip and credited the omega-3s. I bought 10 cans and committed to eating them twice a week for a month. The first can was rough. The smell, the texture, it was weird. But by the third can, I actually started liking them. By the end of the month, I was craving them. I noticed I felt better. My focus was sharper, my mood more stable. Now here's the concerning part. Sardine and mackerel populations are under pressure from overfishing and climate change. Several major fisheries have reduced quotas. Prices are already reflecting that. 3 years ago, a can of good sardines cost about $2. Now, the same can is $4 or more. Availability is getting spotty. I have noticed multiple times in the last 6 months the sardines section at stores is either low stock or completely out. I keep 60 cans of sardines and 40 cans of mackerel in my stockpile. I prefer ones packed in olive oil because the oil itself is valuable calories. Each can provides about 20 grams of protein and a full day's worth of omega-3s. Shelf life is 3 to 5 years. Some people hate canned sardines and will never eat them. I get it. But in a real survival situation, your preferences go out the window. If you are willing to try something outside your comfort zone, buy 5 cans of sardines this week. Try them different ways. On crackers, in a salad, mashed with mustard and onions. Find a way you can tolerate them, then start stocking up. Food number 8 is white sugar in bulk, 25 or 50-pound bags. Not the little 5-pound bags at the grocery store. Sugar prices have been creeping up steadily for 2 years. The bulk sizes are getting harder to find. I used to walk into a warehouse club and see pallets of 50-pound sugar bags. Now they are often out of stock or limited to 1 per customer. Sugar is not just for sweetness. It is a preservative, a calorie source, and a barter item. As a preservative, sugar is how you make jams, jellies, and candied fruits that last for years. Without refrigeration, preserving fruit is nearly impossible unless you use sugar. As a calorie source, sugar is pure energy. In a survival situation where you are doing physical labor, having quick calories can be the difference between functioning and collapsing. A tablespoon of sugar is about 50 calories of instant energy. As a barter item, sugar is gold. In a prolonged crisis, people are going to be desperate for something sweet. Coffee and sugar are 2 of the most psychologically important foods humans consume. If you have extra sugar, you can trade it for almost anything. A guy who lived through the economic collapse in Argentina told me sugar became incredibly valuable. People were trading jewelry for bags of sugar. His family survived partly because his grandfather had stockpiled sugar years earlier. I currently have 150 pounds in storage. I keep it in the original bags inside, food-grade buckets with tight lids. This keeps out moisture and pests. Sugar lasts indefinitely if kept dry. Also stock some brown sugar and powdered sugar. Brown sugar adds a different flavor profile. Powdered sugar is useful for baking and making frosting, which sounds frivolous until you realize that a birthday cake during a crisis might keep your kid from breaking down emotionally. Food number 9 is cooking oil in large containers, gallon jugs or bigger, vegetable oil, canola oil, or peanut oil with long shelf lives. Cooking oil prices have gone insane. 2 years ago, a gallon jug was about $6. Last month, I paid $13 for the same jug, more than double. And it is not just prices. Availability is becoming inconsistent. Multiple times in the last 3 months, I have gone to stores, and the large containers were out of stock. Global cooking oil supplies are under serious pressure. Sunflower oil production got hammered by the war in Ukraine. Palm oil is facing restrictions. Soybean oil prices are up. This is creating a perfect storm for cooking oil shortages. Fat is essential for human survival. Your body cannot function without it. Most prepper foods are extremely low in fat. Rice has almost no fat. Beans have a tiny amount. Without a source of fat, you will develop serious health problems within weeks. Fatigue, brain fog, hormonal issues, immune system failure. Fat is not optional, it is required. Cooking oil solves this problem. 1 tablespoon provides about 120 calories of pure fat. You can add it to rice, beans, vegetables, anything. It makes food taste better and gives your body the fat it desperately needs, but oil does not last forever. Most vegetable oils last about a year after opening, maybe 2 years unopened if stored in a cool, dark place. Rancid oil tastes terrible and can make you sick. You need to rotate it. Here is my system. I keep 12 gallons in my stockpile at any given time. I store them in my basement where it stays cool. Every 2 months, I pull the oldest jug and start using it. Then I buy a new jug to replace it. This way, my oil is always fresh, but I always have a year's supply on hand. I also keep a couple gallons of coconut oil, which lasts longer. Coconut oil can last 2 to 3 years or more if stored properly. It solidifies at room temperature, which helps preserve it. The downside is it is more expensive and has a coconut flavor, but as a backup fat source, it is excellent. Before you click away, I need you to understand something. None of this is theoretical. None of this is internet fear talk. This is what I am seeing with my own eyes in real stores, in real towns, across multiple states. Shelves do not go empty all at once, they go empty quietly. One product here, one brand there, a missing slot that nobody notices until suddenly it is normal for that slot to be empty. That is how shortages really happen. By the time the news is talking about it, the people who pay attention already filled their pantries months earlier. If you are still watching this, you are already ahead of most people. That means you have a choice right now. You can tell yourself this is interesting and move on, or you can take quiet action while it is still boring and socially acceptable to do so. The smart preppers never panic. They do not clear shelves in a frenzy. They add a little here, a little there, 1 extra item per trip. Over time, that becomes a serious buffer between your family and whatever is coming. Here is what I want you to do after this video. The next 3 times you go to the store, do not change your cart dramatically. Just add 2 of the items from this list each time. 2, that is it. You will barely notice the extra cost. But 6 trips from now, you will look at your pantry and realize you quietly built a safety net most people wish they had. When a store employee tells you they do not know when something is coming back, believe them. That is not a casual answer. That is a red flag. I am going to keep tracking this. I am going to keep walking into stores and watching what disappears before the headlines ever mention it. If you want to stay ahead instead of reacting late, make sure you are subscribed and notifications are on, because when the next wave of shortages becomes obvious to everyone else, you will already be stocked, calm, and watching it unfold from a position of strength. Stay ready, stay quiet, and take care of your people.